Today we're going to go through 6 mistakes that your real estate agent might be making right now. All right, Adam, let's dive straight in. Number 1, not getting offers in writing. Why is that a bad thing?
Look, if you're trying to get a buyer to commit to a property, they might be seeing, up to 12 on a weekend, which is absolutely crazy. If they're not committing in writing and they're taking the time to make that offer, 1, the offer might just be off the cuff, or 2, you're not getting them to commit emotionally to the property. And it's the emotional commitment to the property that actually allows you as an agent to negotiate them up in price.
So that's a good one to look out for. So even on the buyer side, I guess, the agent will know you're much more serious if you put in an offer in writing rather than saying, yeah, mate, I'll give you 500 grand and finance. You look like a bit of an amateur. So that's definitely one to look out for. Mistake number 2 that your agent's probably making is not getting enough info from the buyer. Why is that important?
Look, sometimes agents can be a bit like order takers. They'll just take the offer and present it to the owner. As an agent, you want to find out the intricacies, so you might find out some important things like, are they pre-approved? How likely are they actually get finance? I'm sure
even the time frames that they want to buy. You might find out the buyers, their rent's expiring, or there's different. They're having a kid and they need to be in the place at that time. And as the agent, you can, presumably use that to help negotiate and sell your place for more. So I think that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. As an agent, make sure they're asking the questions. Make sure they can explain to you who the buyer actually is, not just here's an offer. This is what the offer's for.
Number 3, this one happens all the time. I know it happened to me when I tried to sell a place in Sydney a few years ago, is agreeing to list your place at a price that will never sell. So why do they do that firstly? Why do agents do this? Why is it such a common mistake that they make? And how can you protect yourself?
Look, it's a shame that some agents do that, but some agents will go in with the idea of, I'll list the property at whatever price and work out selling it later on. You don't want that as an owner because the property is going to sit on the market, it's going to become a bit stale. So best things you can do is jump into the sold section of the real estate websites, have a look for a home that's comparable to yours. Don't try and work out a price based on something that's completely different. It just doesn't work. So get a bit of information in your pocket so when the agent comes in, you can tell if they're telling you the truth.
What would you look at if you're comparing my house, that's a 4-bedroom in Stafford, as an agent, how would you compare that? Would you compare it to a place that's on the other side of town? How does that work?
Look, you really need to make sure it is 4 bedrooms. If 3 bedrooms, you can kind of work out a little bit to give you a lower base for a price. But then again, don't go with a 5-bedroom. Is it 2 stories? Is it 1 story? Is it brick? Is it timber? As an agent, we should be able to give you a really detailed, in-depth look of why we think this house is comparable to your house. And if they can't, then they're just trying to tell you the price that you want to hear.
All right, mistake number 4, and it's a bit of a used car salesman tactic, but it happens, is the agent cutting their commission instantly or straight after hearing you. So why do they do that, and why is that a bit of a red flag?
Look, some agents will drop commission, and that's okay during a negotiation or something like that to try and help get the deal together. They're kind of working for you then. But if an agent's willing to drop commission straight away as soon as you ask, when you're there at the listing presentation and you've decided to sell, just imagine what they're going to do when they actually go to negotiate your property. They probably, they're probably not selling a lot of homes. Hopefully you've done your research, but they might be selling the amount of homes in the area they need to, and they're probably a little hungry, they need some money. Who knows what's going to happen at the other end of the transaction when they're selling your home and they're trying to negotiate that last $5,000. Are they going to push for that $5,000 for you, or are they going to ask you to come down?
And it's one to remember, when agents are starting off, one thing I know that I've heard people do is they just want to get listings to make it look like that they're bigger and more busy than they actually are. So they use these tactics to get lots of listings under their belt, but listing isn't the same as selling. So you need to make sure to look through their history and what they've done, because you could be having your property sit on the market and get stale and not sell.
You don't want that.
Mistake number 5 that a lot of agents might be making right now is not preparing you as a seller on how to prepare your property and how to present it. Why is that a big deal?
Look, at the moment, when the market's been pretty buoyant, it's pretty easy. People will come in and buy the house, but you really got to think, look at the unit market. It's okay, but the best way to get a buyer in the unit market at the moment is to make sure the property is looking fantastic. They're mostly first home buyers. First home buyers fall in love with what they see. They don't think about what it could be. They haven't got the experience. So if you walk into a 2-bedroom unit that's been painted, fresh carpet, it's nice and tidy, it's got maybe staging furniture, that's going to sell a lot quicker and for more money than something that has your dirty undies around. So yeah, hopefully you're not doing that anyway, but a little bit of thought from the agent at the outset, just to think, what can we change here? Do we need to do the gardens? Is the grass actually mowed for the photos? Basic stuff like that. If they're not doing that, then they're not presenting your home as well as it could be.
I've seen my fair share of selling houses in Australia, and I know they say like even the first 5 seconds of where you walk through that first gate into a house, down the path and you open the front door, that's almost more important than the next 5 minutes, because they've already kind of made up their mind by then. So definitely think about how you're presenting the property, make the beds, tidy up the kitchen. It's simple stuff like that. And it might sound silly, but people don't do that, and agents won't do that, and they'll just go through. They might be too busy and just try and flog the property. And the last mistake, which it's a bit of a tough one to gauge, but sometimes agents might not be telling the truth. So how do you work that out? It is a tough one.
It takes a bit of research. Like you've probably, as we spoke about earlier, go and check out sold properties on realestate.com to make sure they're telling you the truth on price. Go and check out ratemyagent.com.au or other review sections to make sure what they're saying about themselves, other people are saying about themselves, and make sure when they're negotiating that you get it in writing so you can actually see this is what they are, this is what they've done, and other than that, good luck. So yeah, there's not much else you can unfortunately do, but I hope you got a good judge of character.
That's it for today. How did you find the video? What mistake do you think your agent's making? Let us know in the comments below, and if you'd like to hit Adam up, I'm going to leave the details below there. And that's it. See you next time.
See you next time, guys.